Well, Pedro, I would never borrow. Well, I know some people that say you'll never find a story. I know some people who say this. They say you'll never find a case in the Bible where anyone who borrowed, it worked out for them. I've heard people say there's nowhere in the Bible where it's encouraging you to borrow. That's a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie. That is emphatically not true. Elisha gets called to a widow's home whose husband has just died and they owed some money. They were in debt. And the husband died. The debt collectors are coming to do what? They're going to take the kids. They had debtor's prison back then. So you don't pay the debt, we take you to jail, if you will, and you have to work as a slave to pay off the debt. So this poor widow has just lost her husband. And now they're going to come steal her boys to come work as slaves to pay off the debt, which means she's going to be a widow with no sons, which means in that culture, she's pretty much a dog. She cries out to bring the prophet Elisha to come, and he says, "Woman, what do you have in your house?" "Nothing. I have nothing. God hates me. He's left me here like an animal. I have nothing." He's like, no, that's wrong. "What do you have in your house?" "Well, I don't have anything except this little cruse of oil." "Okay, bring me the cruse of oil. And now go borrow jars from all of your neighbors." "Well, Elisha, I'm too proud to borrow. I was told never to borrow. I can't borrow." "Okay, guess what? End of the game over. Story ends. Boys get taken in slavery. Widow miserable. But instead, at the word of the prophet, she went and borrowed as many empty vessels as she could. And the story clearly says that Elisha poured that cruse of oil and the Lord multiplied until every single jar was full. And then she sold the oil, paid off all the debt, had enough left over to live the rest of her life, and then returned the jars back to the neighbors. If she's not willing to borrow, she never gets her breakthrough. I had to borrow to get my breakthrough. When I was so broken, and I was working my way back into the insurance industry, I came across a seminar system of doing seminars to grow my financial business. But seminars are expensive. You have to send out a lot of mail, and you got to buy a lot of dinners. And we did not have the money to get started. But I had a friend of mine who had been for 2 years bothering me to do something with me. He wanted to invest with me. He wanted to do a project with me. And I never had anything to tell him. So I'm like, you know what? I said, "Lord, I don't want to borrow anymore, Lord. I just got destroyed borrowing too much money. I don't want to borrow anymore, but this seems like the best path for me, and I don't have the money. So as a fleece, God, to see if this is you, I'm going to ask one person to partner with me on this. I'm going to ask one person to advance the money. One, the guy who's been asking me for 2 years to invest with me. If he says no, it's over. I'm not asking another person. I am not going to borrow again because I went down that path. But I see a path for myself here. I see a way. I see a way you can provide for me. So I'm going to ask this one person. And if it's your will, God, let him say yes. And if he says no, over. I'm not going to go that route. I took it to the guy. He was super excited. He was dying to do something with me. He put up, he paid for my first mailers. He paid for my first dinners, a few more and a few more. And guys, I ended up borrowing up about $30,000 over the course of the first 4 or 5 months. That first 6 months earned $300,000. The second year we did $600,000. The third year we did 1 point something million. If I was not willing to go ask that friend to borrow, just like the widow, there is no Pedro Adao story. There is no 100X. None of you are here. I could very well not be here. So Pedro, what are you saying? I'm saying don't be stupid. Don't be religious. Sometimes there are opportunities that come before you, and the only way to take advantage of them is to borrow.